and it's rapid in this. Everyone is an albatross. This is 49. Number 49, Pink Cloud. Everyone is an albatross. If you ever heard the story of the albatross, which I'm sure, whether you've read the actual poem or, seen it in individual lives of people, everyone is an albatross in that effect. The only way you get close to somebody is in that effect. The way we sort of think about things. I mean, when I think of Earth itself, it isn't like an insane asylum. But one of the main reasons is because of cognitive dissonance. How we change, there's a change of heart and change of mind when it comes down to things. Like with the tale of Aesop, where you have the fox and the grapes. And the fox gives up on getting the grapes because it's so high up in the tree, it doesn't try to get the rest of it. It doesn't try to go and get the rest. It doesn't try to get the grapes. It accepts. With cognitive dissonance, we've been taught growing up to give up and to let in whatever comes. Change our minds if not, or use rationalization. So if something doesn't happen, we change our minds, or we use rationalization to take away what has happened and make it seem like giving up is not giving up. But it is giving up. So every one of you have given up. We're all an albatross, but if we give up on ourselves, we're already hurting ourselves. If somebody else gives up on us, everyone tries to blame it on everybody else in that accord, because it's like, it must be their fault. It's because I've rationalized every single way. That's the problem. You're rationalizing. You're doing the worst thing in the world. You're creating a reason to give up and not calling it giving up. But that's what it is. I gave up so many times, but I gave up knowing it. I know that I gave up. I gave up to do better next time. I gave up to be better next time. I gave up to be stronger, to be who I am more next time. Even though I've been who I am, sometimes I've expunged more and I've expunged less. But it's because there is no sense to create the same thing again and again without the evolution of understanding. Sometimes you can't talk about the exact things you want to talk about with somebody because you don't know exactly how to do it. Other times no one allows you to. There's that too, and that's a cognitive dissonance. If your change of mind and heart creates that, you're creating an issue. You're creating a way to think about it. And you're saying that that's the way to think about a relationship, that's the way to think about people. That being cognitively dissonant to something is a smart thing. It makes us better humans. It's just like the Merovingian from the Matrix trilogy, where he said, power comes in the control of knowing why. You come with power, you come with the why. You come with the reason why. Because that makes you have power. In that effect, if that's all you care about is power, then yes, that's all you're going to get. But at the same time, you're going to also create conflict within yourself and with people around you. Where do you think jealousy comes from? It comes from power. It doesn't come from love. In the most frugal attempt to be jealous is to contradict why you're jealous. It's to contradict your love. It contradicts your love to be jealous, because if your love assimilates a sort of character, you already know that your love is stronger than the other person. So if you know somebody's cheating on you, if you have senses that somebody's cheating on you, then you already know that you need to be treated well. Everyone is an albatross, so that means you need to find somebody that's going to treat you well. That it's not about calling these other people bad, whether they're women, men to men, women to women. You could find any kind of somebody not treated well in every single kind of relationship on this earth right now. But if you automatically subsist to see anything else, then you're going to become that too. You actually become worse than them. Because at least they admit that they're cheaters, and to a certain extent. Even if they don't admit it, they don't need to admit it. You freely accept it by not going with your sensitivities toward it. By not saying, yes, this person is cheating on me, whether a girl or guy got a girl, whatever. If you're in effect having a condition to stay there, you're basically saying, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, even though I already know. Then you're creating a problem. You're making the albatross worse. It's like calling somebody beautiful one day and then saying they're the biggest bitch ever the next. Biggest, asshole ever the next day. And it's not even about that really, because a lot of people are used to the humiliation. They're used to the judgment. They're used to the disapproval, which means nobody's being treated like an albatross. No one's being treated well. The story of the albatross is you destroy it if you don't treat it well. Everyone is an albatross. Every one of you. Every one of me is an albatross. I'm saying every one of me because there's so many of me now. There's 1,000 of me. I'm like Agent Smith and Neo put together. If I was to have a fight between me as Neo and Agent Smith would be jealousy. What-ta! I'd kick his ass. But then I'd give in because the only way I could change or get rid of jealousy is getting rid of myself. Getting rid of somebody who doesn't like jealousy is the only way you could end jealousy, because there's nothing else they could be jealous about. The biggest thing somebody who's jealous is about is somebody who's not jealous at all. That's why they're most jealous, because they're jealous of you not being jealous. And it is that. Earth is an insane asylum in that effect, that we've created an insane asylum for ourselves by saying that everything is as it is. Government is a system above us and we have to trust in it. But at the same time, if you're giving in to cognitive dissonance, just saying, accepting the grapes are that high and you can never get them, then what you're saying is you need those grapes. You don't need them. You haven't even tasted those grapes, so why do you need them? You're a fox. That's just grapes. Grapes dry up. They don't last forever. But you as a fox, you're a living thing. Yes, so is a plant, but it doesn't need to be taken care of as much as you do, as much as you need to take care of yourself. And you don't take care of yourself by just saying, oh, well, I'm going to give up, but I'm going to keep those things above my head. That's what most people do with government. They keep them above their head. I say, cut down that string. Cut down that whole tree. We don't need it anymore. Because we don't get fed off the teat from it anymore. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. In fact, I think it's the washboard effect. We don't need those things because then we have to live up to the potential of what the character admiration lives up to. Meaning that what our government has created, concocted, is in fact something that we have to turn out to be. But I don't want to grow up to be those kind of people. Not because I personally have something against those people who actually wanted to do that, but because I feel differently about my life. I'm sorry, I grew up in a society that it doesn't matter where I go in the world, I'm never going to feel equilaterally integrated into it. I won't. In any system, because none of these systems represent me. Even ones that have been destroyed don't represent me. None of them do. None of them represent me as a human being. They represent me from the controls of their systems, their people in power, in the system itself. Whether it's a secret government, or whether it's the government itself. If it doesn't represent me, it doesn't matter which way it is. It doesn't represent me. I don't need to find out the secrets to know that. People want their way so badly, they don't see they are teaching their kids, family members, etc. to do the same and want their way too. So when people say, like, people want their way that badly that they'll make everybody else believe it too. Like, they'll influence everybody else to that belief too. Like I was saying about people just wanting sex and options. People teach other people this stuff. Oh, fuck you. I'm not putting you down for it. But you heavily trying to push your belief on other people, that's your deal. I only answer for myself. I don't answer for you. That's why I don't say everything, because I know the line of the girder that, like if you're picking up two sides of a bridge, I know how to tilt the bridge to make it like, hey, lessen to this side and you're on that side and we're both just building up like this, and sometime the bridge will come down and we'll be able to let the traffic go by. But right now I can't allow that. I can't just tell you free flow what's happening because your bridge is still up. So that means there's no way the traffic can go across. It'll just crash down into the water or wherever it is. If there's land right there, then they'll crash into the land. So I can't allow myself to open up that much because the bridge isn't down. Neither one of ours is down. There has to be a free flow of traffic for that conversation to come through, and that's why a lot of people teach their kids to just want what they want. Want what they want. And it's the same thing with sex and options and stuff. Oh, a lot of people are like that. I don't know if that's true. Maybe people that weren't like that before. What if there was a history to these people where they tried to do emotions, where they tried to do sensitivities, where they tried to do, everything they could to use their feelings and emotions to get through to somebody, and it didn't work, and they failed, and it hurt too much to the point where they were having an easier time using sex and options instead. I'm not putting that down. If it works for those people, then it makes sense, I think. I think if it doesn't make sense to use one method, you have to use another. For myself, it's not going to work that way, and I could already feel that. I get too attached. I couldn't deal with knowing so many damn people. That's why I don't know many damn people. And that's why on my Facebook, a lot of people on my phone. I don't contact any people because I get too attached. If I'm going to contact them, damn, I'm so scared. Because it means I'm going to get attached to what they're doing next. And what I'm doing next alone. And then seeing them again. Oh no! I'm into routines and sweetness and love and all this stuff. But at the same time, you can't make somebody turn into just a washing machine. Meaning that, let me just turn you on when I need you. And I think this is happening with both males and females, where they're doing that. If you want technology, go to technology. Because a lot of people say that you have to live up to my standards. Okay, I don't even tell you to live up to my fucking standards, so no thank you. Throughout this whole thing, anything that I've spoken of from my personal deliberate experiences that have happened upon me or from me. Mostly all these happened from me itself. They happened because of me. It was my fault. And I am doing better now by doing this. There's no other way to presume about that. This is exactly what's supposed to happen. What else is happening? I don't know. I don't know how this is going to end. I just know how it's going to begin. This is how it's beginning. And that's why, to me, you don't teach people beliefs. You don't teach people how to think. You teach people why they should think for themselves and where their responsibilities lie in what they think. That's what I think personally. If you teach people how to think, then you're telling them this is the way you're supposed to think about things. This is the way you're supposed to think about men, women, whatever gender you are, whatever orientation you have. If you're trying to teach against another orientation or another gender, fuck you. Another race, whatever. You have no identity with the self-proclaimed ego that you've created in the relationship and in your child and in your family. You've now created a total mental state that you want everybody else to capture, just like yours. I don't care. I am a bump on a log when it comes down to it, because I'm just working, a fast food job right now, and nobody, when you consider it, I'm just doing this because of my love. I'm not doing this to admonish anybody or make somebody feel worse or make myself feel better. There's nothing in this that creates a responsibility except my own responsibility. This is my responsibility. What I'm doing right now is my responsibility. If it's good or bad decision, then it's my responsibility to deal with the future, where I'm going to get to deal with the consequences of what I'm doing right now. Even what I'm talking about. I mean, if you think you're better than everyone else or worse, which I want to put that I don't think I am, either way, I'm just a human being, And a lot of people consider themselves worse or better in that effect, where they try to say, for example, like somebody who's been in many relationships or has had experiences would sometimes say, oh no, I can't be with you because I need somebody with experience. Or they'll patronize themselves and say, oh, I don't think we'd be better off because I know I've been involved before, and they feel bad to be involved with you when they've already been involved with other people. And at the same effect, there's also the opposite end, where I could feel like, I haven't had experiences before, I feel bad. I don't feel bad going into it, but I would feel bad if the other person did, because you could feel that. That sensitivity's right there in the notch, it's right there in the eyes of that person, and they're not going to destroy it. But, it's just like with being naive. Truly being naive is a strength. But it's actually one of the biggest weaknesses, too, because once you start being naive about stuff, you're already eliminating the equation of learning something new. Because you don't go with your first instinct, you go with the naivete, and try to be naive and give that benefit of the doubt when you already know the truth. And if you know the truth already, you've now created a reason to not deal with that truth. and just said, well, I'm going to be a little more stronger than that. And that's where a lot of people say, like, if you have, that humans are out of control just like animals and stuff. Yeah, we are. But if you don't give in to some of that out of control, and sometimes at the best, your passion creates more things than anything else. Any kind of conductor of Valentine's Day, birthdays, anniversaries, they'll mean nothing unless you put your passion into it. Oh, he's so romantic, she's so romantic. But are they passionate? And passion does not necessarily mean just sex. Passion is a very broad spectrum. It's everything you do. And once you start creating more passion and doing things with passion instead of just seeing it as hard work, you can find more. That's where the Albatross really works. You have to do it yourself too. If somebody else hurts you, then yeah, they're ruining the Albatross. But they're ruining the Albatross for themselves. The Albatross of a relationship that comes between both of you. If you think you're better, then you're setting yourself up to hurt others or yourself the worst. At the same time, if you think you're worse, you've created a negativity, like assuming an answer out of an answer given. Someone were to tell me, you let your grandma win, I would say my grandma doesn't even know how to win. And when I say that, I mean that. In a true, honest conversation, if people say, like, for example, oh, you let your family come first. Well, to a certain effect, there is some truth, but to a big effect, there is no truth to that. Because I don't let my family come first. Why would I spend the time with you if I let my family come first? There's something that you're not seeing that you don't want to see in our relationship, whether we're friends or anything else. And it wouldn't matter in that effect, because if you're already assuming that, then our friendship is dead, our relationship is dead. Because you're now taking into consideration what the other person's negativity and disapproval has said about you. You've accepted that disapproval and said, well, nothing's going to change. Well then, if nothing's going to change, then I haven't changed anything for you. And unless I can do it without having that disapproval around, with having all the negativity around, if you can't see through the positive and negative of others, or through the image of self-conducting, muscular men and stuff like that, then that's going to turn you on. That's going to find the effect of your life. Mine defined through the pleasure of passion and directing myself through any vortex of my life. Because there's nothing else bigger than that. If there is, it's not coming through whether I get a better job with better pay, whether I do this or that with my degree. I'm already doing everything with my degree. Right now, I'm reading every second. I can't read a book because I'm reading every single second. I wish I could read right now, but I can't because I'm reading every single second. I'm reading right now. Sometimes I lose my head and have a little seizure because my EEG goes off the wire in the head. But it's because I'm reading every second. And because of this, if you're assuming an answer, that you create that negativity for yourself, then you're doing that. No one else is doing that for you. Even I'm not doing that for you. I wouldn't even do that for you. Because to me, I have to accept somebody out of their realm of their past too, whether they're a friend or more. I have to accept that realm of their past. But they have to accept that their past cannot associate with what I'm doing to them. Now, if they try to do that, they're basically telling me, turn into my family. Excuse me. You already know I'm an individual. You already know I'm not mistreating you. You already know that I'm not disapproving or judgmental. Which means that if you want me to be disapproving, judgmental, anything else, you have to go to somebody else. You can't come to me for that. I'm not the guy for that. Not because, are you too scared to do that? No. I love talking about stuff, but I don't argue to get my way. I argue to actually find a solution. I don't argue to just say, hey, I want to hurt you with my ego. That's exactly what I want to do. No. Fuck that. Fuck my ego. I love losing because I learned to do better. I love failing because I learned to do better. This is another guy. And that's all I need to be. If I need to be something else, then what would matter when we're together? If I can't be just that guy for you, then what would matter if we're together? As friends or anything else? I have to do something bad for the good I seem to be always known for. It's a complacent message that a lot for a little, or no encouragement to call out or be with. That's a hard one to say, because it's true though, in a way, that when you're kind, and I'm not saying that this isn't true of any other side of the story, because I'm sure that somebody who does bad thinks the opposite way about me. But if you're very kind and you're not getting recognition for it to a certain extent, then what makes somebody important? If you're always the same, people don't associate like that as special. Oh, well, this person's always the same. Boring. There you go. I don't risk being bored. There. I've risked everything else. I've risked against disapproval. I've risked against judgments. I've risked it all. But I don't risk being bored. Because once you can get bored with anything, you get bored with everything. And that's where this comes from. That if I have to be bad just to seem good to other people, or to learn good, and then somebody would say, hey, you learned a lot, Marcello. But I already know a lot. I don't need to be bad to be good here. I already am, in that effect, learning. And yes, I'm going to fail. But if you associate a fairy tale with what I am, then you're making a created image. I could do it myself. Here, I could create an image of a fairy tale to you, right in your face, with my Death King grip, my giant claw of a hand. But it doesn't matter, because the only ones you associate with are the ones that have been created before me. Fuck them. Grimm's Tales overtook the storyline that was originally associated, where Little Red Riding Hood died. There was no guy who came. There was no huntsman or whatever that came to save her from the wolf. No, she died. It was a story of being careful to not allow the negativity in your life, because you're going to die from it. No one's going to come and save you. That was the original story before Grimm's came along and created a happy image of it. Fuck them. I don't like that happy image. I like the true image of caution in the head. If you don't have caution in the head, you're going to be dead. But that's okay too. You have to learn from those things too, and that's where it comes along that, oh, I have to be bad to be good. Because you have to have caution in your head about what you say, what you do. Everybody associates with this image. That if you're very spontaneous in speech, you can get into trouble a lot. Not always true. In fact, most of the time, people just ignore you if you're spontaneous. People don't just associate that they're going to do something with you, they're going to put you away for good. I mean, if you need to do that, you can do that. But if you truly know, there's nothing to run from. There's nothing to run away from to learn anything that would hurt you. Because it wouldn't hurt you. It would only hurt you if it actually hurt you right there. Unless you're faking yourself out and you want to be hurt. And you want to be heard. If you want to be heard, you have to actually say what you want to say, though. And that's where a lot of this comes from, too. Like me, having kindness, I don't try to objectify or subjectify what you're trying to say and how you're trying to act with me. Because that's a stupid identity crisis that I can't deal with myself. I need answers from you, but I don't need answers from you forced out. And greed is not only about money. When thinking about greed of things and people, I'm not a dog. Definitely, I have a mouth, and the use of dogs and cats really capitalizes the use of slavery today. Greed is the real action to all the hurt around these days. It is. If you really think about relationships, most people do things based on the security. I mean, if you look at how people say, like, whoosh, whoosh, people have the whip hand, people have control. Whoosh, like if a woman has control of a man, whoosh, that's what happens. I do it too, as a joke, but it's not really an intimate sort of relationship to a certain extent. Certain ones are, and you can grow to love and stuff like that, and that's fine. You can learn to love and stuff like that, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that you have to learn in a relationship. You grow together. So many people say, you should have learned everything before you got here. I should have? Really? Why? Who could I have learned it from? Not from my family. Because my family would say that their experiences, like my mom says, were not based on true emotions more than just escaping insecurity. And my grandma says, I have more experiences, so that makes my experiences more important than yours. Sorry, I can't identify with that or learn from that. Because that's just ego coming out. My mom actually says that go with my emotions, feelings, sensitivities, it'll just take time. Because a lot of people are scared of those things. They're scared. They're scared as hell of that. I'm scared of it too. But I'm not scared enough. I'm not going to be in fear of it. I'm scared and afraid of it, but damn, I'm not going to be in fear of my feelings. I know they're there. But I know at the same time it's not going to be created in that great image unless I can deal with it. And that's where the greed comes in. That's where a lot of people get into relationships based on, you're just like a dog and a cat to me. You live up to my expectations. Then I don't want to be in a relationship with you if all I do is live up to your expectations. There's a lot more to a relationship than that. Even friendships are more important than that. And I think a lot of my friendships ended because of those reasons. Because they were looking for somebody to be a slave to them. And I was like, no, thank you. There's no room in with you because your ego's so big. You don't even need me around. You already have enough of a big ego. I don't need to be here. Wata. And that's the truth. I felt that from some of my friends before. I felt that from most of my friends. And that's where a lot of this comes from. This identity of like, you need to have my sharp teeth. No, I don't. I have my own teeth. Thank you very much. I have my own teeth. And nothing else can be said. No denial about you feeling the way you feel, but you just want to capitalize over me. Capitalism is capitalizing. But it doesn't mean it's a good thing. It doesn't mean it works well. Because it can go, like I said, this is reverse capitalism. You don't kill the competition, you allow the competition to flourish. Just like humans flourish, As God said, be prosperous with this. Well, guess what? That also means on this end, capitalism should be in the same effect, where you don't kill the competition or buy them up, you actually allow the competition. That's why, to me, this is reverse capitalism. It allows only for a certain few to own everything that's made old and new. And talking is not just about teaching, teaching and lessons. We also talk about all things for all reasons. Because that's what we want to figure out. I think a lot of times people assume that everything I talk about on Pink Cloud Radio is about teaching or lessons. No, it's not. It's about talking about all reasons, all things. Because most people have a certainty with their answers. And the only reason they ask other people sometimes, it's not about problems, it's about finding a different one. It's about leaning towards two things and then trying to be guided to another direction, possibly, that could allow for a different answer. Instead of just living with the way they think, they want to try to escape that sometimes, and they do talk about it. So sometimes it's about the temporary hold of some negativity that's in your head, or some kind of way of thinking, and if you talk to somebody about it, they'll allow another reason to come out, another reason, another variable to throw you against it, and say, well, this isn't about math, or this isn't about science, this is about the way I'm thinking about something. And if I continue to think this way, I'm going to fail in life. I'm going to continue to fail in life because I'll continue to make the same decisions, because I'll never try to look at somebody else differently. I'll always look at the same people the same way, and I'll never look at them like they were different. Never look at them like they were somebody else or something else that they could be to me. And I think that's the thing about it, that we're in this kind of struggle to try to survive, but at the same time, we don't try to help anything else ourselves to survive. We just say that it's only physical, that all we need to worry about is the physical realm, the money we make, stuff like that. And then outside of that, we trigger any collapse of anything else. Our emotions, feelings, sensitivities, sexual prowess, everything. We deny every single aspect to be stronger in those ways, but the strongest ways are usually the weakest ones. Because we'll be cut by the throat if we don't have those. We don't have money, we're cut by the throat. And I think that's the identity of what a lot of people do with things that create a lot of problems. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from too, that we're trying to establish our lives by telling ourselves that we can be different but never do it. We just tell ourselves we can be, but we never actually make that step to do anything. We just sort of say, well, I can't change right now. Then how do you have How do you have expectations for another person to change if you can't change? If you can't allow yourself to change, why would you have expectations for others to change? And I mean, a lot of times it has to go back to the kind of names I give myself. The Key, the Double Still, Imperial Dragon that watches you as you sleep, Pink Cloud, Open Knife, Death King. All these names are establishing the condition of what I feel. Because in a lot of ways, we always try to trigger an ulterior motives. Even if there is no ulterior motive, even if we don't want an ulterior motive, we try to make things easier for ourselves. So we take the steps that we need to be better people. But at the same time, we don't try to condition ourselves to be stronger in what we've done. We just sort of say, well, it's easier to make things turn around than be ourselves. It's easier to be, it's easier to be hard on ourselves sometimes. And I think that's the thing that I've learned. That we've sort of created this double image of what we are. That we don't really need to establish better identity of where we are in life. Just accept life. But a lot of times we accept life in the wrong ways. We accept it for the negativity that comes at us. We accept it for the negativity of what happened to us. And so then we forget about all the positive things that can come out of life. Because we've accepted the terms of what has happened. Even though those things that have happened don't necessarily reflect who we are or what we want. It reflects usually what somebody else has done to us. And I think that's the problem that I've seen, that we've created a sort of stock image of what, like it's almost like just stock footage from a movie. Like the things that are left over or second unit filming or something, the kind of things that we look at and say that must be life right there, that must be what we want. When in fact it's just another cycle of the same, stunts done over and over again. Instead of actually looking for something new, we just sort of say that something new is something old. And that's the thing, like it's not even about being blind anymore. It's about making ourselves so dedicated to what has hurt us. To that misery that I heard in The Matrix, for example. In the Matrix movies, they talked about that. How, Agent Smith talked about it in the first one, saying that humans are dedicated to that misery in life. That if you try to make a perfect system where there is no misery, where there is a good thing, whole people will die off because they're not, there will be rejection of it. And it won't last because there's that acceptance of misery where we don't stop accepting misery. And we won't accept any good parts because the bad parts, I don't even think it's more that we've accepted misery as a tolerant thing, but we've almost accepted what makes misery. Because it's always the strong point in our lives that makes us turn around. And a lot of times it is through misery that we can learn to accept the good too. And I think that's what a lot of things that I've looked at in films and in life in general, it does make me realize that I have accepted a lot more by now. But at the same time, I'm not looking for that misery. People just lived with that misery. All the stuff I just talked about, the way people are thinking, the way people collide with things, that's what they want. They wanted that. And I'm to blame. But it's not like I'm to blame, meaning I made them think that way. They were already there. There was nothing I could have done to make them escape that or change. Unless what I was to them, or who I was to them, made them. That's why they're not friends anymore. Whether I ended the friendship or they did. Most of the time it was me, because I felt they weren't going to contact me on their own anymore. And some of them have, but not in that way of like, I want it back freely. And I think that's one thing that I've learned, is that people say like there's no such thing as a free lunch. But if all you think about is in terms of money, that doesn't actually just mean about money. When people say there's no such thing as a free lunch, it also means that you have to accept the terms of what you're doing. You have to accept the terms of who you're accepting and what you're accepting in your life. If you're accepting negativity, you're accepting that negativity. No one else can accept it for you. Which means that you can't be intolerant towards somebody who doesn't accept it. You have to accept that somebody else won't like that you did that. That another person will not face the same beast that you're facing. I'm 26 right now, and I've learned so much about life, but I've also learned that a lot of things in life are very based on those qualities, that a lot of people base their lives on what they lose. But because of that, sometimes they become those things. There's a certain point where you have to say, okay, I can't totally accept that somebody else is going to hurt me the same way this guy did or this girl did. I don't. But that's because of so many different things in my life that I felt differently. And the same things I've heard from even people within my family. Other people do wrong, not me. Oh, I love that one. I love that one. That is such a huge thing to say. Other people do wrong, not me. Really? I think right in there is one of the main things that I've seen that people miss the point of. If people try to say that they're not doing wrong, and they like to point out the mistakes others make or the wrong that somebody else did to them or doing to the world or whatever, they're doing the most wrong. They're doing the most wrong right there. They're showing why humans are not capable of getting along. If you have to point out every wrong, and you're not, you're wrong by pointing out the wrong. You're the worst kind of wrong. Because you're pointing out that other people do wrong, not me. Right there, that not me especially, that trigger of what you think of yourself. No one else is as spontaneous, but a lot of people are. Even people who do wrong say they're not wrong. And maybe they're right. What if they're the right ones and you're not? I think a lot of times we accept the terms of humans as sort of a bridge for our lives. We don't want to totally say that other humans are the best or that we can get along with everybody, because that's not true. But at the same time, we do accept the treatments that come from others. A lot of times we do. We may not like a lot of people in that effect, because a lot of people can hold against you a lot of things. Just like that. Other people do wrong, not me. That's what it means. It doesn't mean anything else. It doesn't mean that they're very friendly. It's not somebody that's very nice to be capable to say that. And I think that's the issue that I've seen, is that a lot of people try to come to terms with their ego and make it seem like it's a good thing. To make it seem like what they're doing, what they're thinking with their ego is totally right. Nothing wrong with that. When it's the most wrong. When what you're doing is you're conditioning yourself to allow your ego to be 100% right no matter what. Even if you're wrong, you're right. And I think that's why a lot of times, when people say other people do wrong, not me, they're basically saying that what other people do is wrong because they're not like me. I mean, it goes back to expectations right there. And I think a lot of times that's why I get out of a lot of friendships. That's why I've felt those expectations gunning down my throat. So why would I want that kind of person gunning me down? If you truly care about me or have any sort of superiority complex even, get out of here. Or you deflate yourself, you make yourself feel worse than me. Again, get out of here. If I wanted to make you feel worse, I'd let you know it. I'd be like all those guys who hurt women, and at the same time, I'd be those things. You wouldn't have to wait for it and be surprised by it. It's the same thing that I say about being controlling. I talked about this before. If I wanted to be controlling, I would have been a long time ago. Why would I wait until 26 years old to start being controlling? And I think a lot of times people try to, they try to trigger something from people. They try to trigger what kind of person they are, how they think. And they do it by, making fun of them sometimes. And to be honest, if it's not true, it never works. If you just make fun of somebody, you don't really care about them. And I'm not talking about just having fun. There's a big difference between making fun of somebody and having fun. But if you're making fun, it can be misconstrued too. There are a lot of people out there who definitely have acted in ways where it looks like they're just making fun of somebody, and maybe they're just having fun. But there's no way around it if the other person doesn't completely understand that. Like, I don't completely understand if somebody's having fun or making fun, because sarcasm to me, it's a very direct self-defense. It's a very direct self-defense, which means that most of the time when people use sarcasm, it's to attack somebody. It's not to be friendly. It's not to just have fun with them. It's to also get them to think the way they do. I actually don't think having a self-defense is a strength, because being strong about things is actually a weakness. But at the same time, if you're strong, like to me, if you're weak, if somebody doesn't accept you for that weakness, then they won't accept you for your strengths, your real strengths. Like I could defend somebody to the hilt, but it won't mean anything unless they actually care about me, And I think that's where we learn to be sort of pretentious in a lot of ways. We try to establish that we're better than other people, or we have better understanding of life than other people. No, I don't. Like I said last time, I think I'm the biggest asshole in the world. It's not purposefully. It's not like I'm trying to make fun of myself or put myself in a bad position by saying it. I know that it can hurt me to say it. But I know at the same time I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. I mean, the world is mysterious. That's why God or something has to exist. It doesn't seem too mysterious with how things are going on in the world. Not much of a mystery. It isn't much of a mystery. So to say, I'm not putting down God or anything by saying this, or any kind of self-image of some proclaimed thing that's out there. But I am saying that it's not much of a mystery. And the world is not much of a mystery. And not because we've dissected it with science and math, but because of what's been allowed on this earth to happen. It's not much of a mystery. To say that things exist because there's mystery, there's not much mystery anymore. And the mystery that we can find, we can't find. We're not allowed to look at. So how much of a mystery, how can there be mystery if someone else holds the key to that mystery? It means that they want to be God. That's why when people say there's secret government, there's secret, things going on in the world, well, if there is, truly, then they're trying to be God. And of course they'll fail, because, to a certain extent, control only leads to death. And it does, I wouldn't... that's why a lot what I just said about the superiority complex and the inferiority complex. I'll end with these, because I think that... and popcorn. But there's never made within unless you've taken what others are, like a pyramid, that you can walk on top of. Why do you think the world is so bad? Many have done that before already. Like I was saying about if someone's done you over wrong, if someone's cheated on you, and you just say oh, all men are like that, or all women are like that, or whatever, what you're basically doing is those people have done that already, and now you're allowing yourself to do it too. So how are you any better than the person that did that to you? Now, I'm not saying that shouldn't hurt you, or you haven't experienced it, Michelle, you don't know. Yes, I have. But the one thing I'm not going to do is blame everybody else. What did they do? Nothing. Did I want somebody else to protect me? No. I never even asked for help. In fact, I like experiencing something because it creates a better person in me. It doesn't create a better person in anybody else. It never will change anybody else, just to see it. If they were there, nothing would change. Nothing would have changed. It would have happened the same way. And it did. I can't expect... There you go. Back to expectation. But the superiority complex is that. I think superiority complex is one of the worst. Just like inferiority. To me, superiority complex is where you think you're better and you deserve every single respect in the world. No, you don't. You're not better. You know, when people say, when a person says that they're better than anybody else, but at the same time they can't change the world, if they accepted that term, that means that they're not better than anybody else. If you can't change the world, you're not better than anybody else then. You know, I mean, that's the funny thing. People have this corrupt concept where they think they're better than everybody else, but they never do anything better for the world because they know they can't change it. So you're not better than anybody else because you can't do anything more than anybody else on this world. So how are you better than anybody else? You're not. That ego has inflated the time of your whole life. You've wasted your life on your ego. And it's the same thing with the inferiority complex, where somebody says like, oh, you know, that they think they're worse than somebody else, or they always look down at what they're doing because of somebody else. Doesn't necessarily mean the inferiority comes from them. It's just like popcorn kernels. You can't pop them all too big. Rather, have to have kernels at the bottom that start to get, and if you do, you get them burned. So you have to be careful with how you logically make things happen. And I don't think that's a wrong thing to do. But again, it goes back to everyone being an albatross. You can't cook all the kernels. And that's fine. Some cook very well. Some don't. And I think that's where we have to establish what we want and what we don't want. Just like popcorn kernels. Just like popcorn kernels. You gotta be careful how long you cook them. Take care, guys. Love.